Welcome to What Is, the channel where we dive headfirst into the biggest, weirdest, and most mind-bending questions humanity has ever dared ask. And today we're not just asking a question, we're questioning reality itself. Have you ever had a moment, a flicker of an instant, where you felt things were off? A glitch in your everyday mundane matrix. Maybe you saw the same person twice in different places, experienced an uncanny deja vu that felt less like a memory and more like a rewind. Or perhaps you just found yourself staring at a particularly intricate pattern on your wallpaper, wondering if it was some kind of highly elaborate texture file. No? That just me? Well, good. That probably means that you're not too deep down the rabbit hole. At least not yet. Today, we're tackling a theory so profound, so unsettling, yet oddly compelling, that it's moved from the dusty shelves of philosophy to the cutting edge of science, and even the vibrant squares of pop culture. We're talking about the simulation theory, and the million-dollar, or rather multi-trillion polygon question, are we inside it? Let's unpack this. So what exactly is the simulation theory? In its simplest form, it's the idea that our entire reality, the universe, the earth, you, me, the coffee that you just spilled on your shirt, that persistent hum you're hearing right now, none of it is real. Not in a fundamental physical sense anyway. Instead, it's an artificial construct, a highly advanced computer program, a virtual reality simulation created by an intelligent, post-human civilization, far more advanced than our own. Think of it like a video game, but with graphics so incredibly hyper-realistic and AI so sophisticated that you can't tell the difference between the game and, well, actual reality. Because for us, this is actual reality. The core premise is that this advanced civilization, let's call them the simulators, are running these simulations, perhaps to study their ancestors, to learn about their history, to run experiments, or maybe, just maybe, because they're bored. Or maybe they built a really good version of The Sims and got a bit carried away. Now, while it sounds like the plot of a blockbuster movie, the roots of this idea stretch back far further than Hollywood. This isn't just some recent sci-fi trope. In fact, humanity has been wrestling with the question of reality's true nature for millennia. Cast your mind back to ancient Greece. Around 4th century BC, the philosopher Plato posited his famous Allegory of the Cave. Imagine prisoners chained in a cave, their entire lives spent facing a blank wall. Behind them, a fire burns, and people carrying objects past the fire are casting shadows onto the wall. These shadows are the only reality the prisoners have ever known. If one prisoner were freed and saw the true world outside the cave, their minds would be blown. They'd probably think the sun was a super powerful lamp. Plato's point? Our perceived reality might just be a world of shadows, obscuring a deeper, truer form of existence. Does that sound familiar? Fast forward to the 17th century. René Descartes, the French philosopher who famously declared, "I think, therefore I am," entertained the idea of an evil demon, or evil genius. This demon, supremely powerful and cunning, could employ all its energies to deceive him, making everything he perceived an illusion. He questioned whether anything he believed to be real was foundational, or if it was all a grand illusion conjured by this malevolent entity. A philosophical supervillain, if you will. And then, in the 18th century, Irish philosopher George Berkeley took it even further, with his concept of idealism. Berkeley essentially argued that to be is to be perceived. Objects only exist when they are observed. If a tree falls in a forest and there's no one around to hear it, does it actually make a sound? For Berkeley, if no one is perceiving it, it doesn't even exist as a tree. The only things that truly exist are minds and their ideas. Our perception, he argued, is how God sustains reality, which, if you think about it, It's just a very spiritual way of saying we're all playing in God's highly detailed sandbox. So for centuries, philosophers have been the original debuggers, questioning the very operating system of existence. But it wasn't until the rise of computing power that these ancient musings gained a new, technologically driven urgency and a truly modern framework. In the late 20th and early 21st centuries, as our own technology advanced, as video games became hyper-realistic, as virtual reality moved from science fiction to actual reality, the idea of simulating entire worlds became less abstract and more plausible. We could build simulated cities in games like SimCity, create complex ecosystems in Spore, and live entire virtual lives in The Sims. We even developed AI that could beat us at chess, Go, and even complex strategy games. If we could do this, what could a civilization thousands or millions of years ahead of us achieve? This brings us to the most influential modern articulation of the simulation theory, proposed in 2003 by Swedish philosopher Nick Bostrom in his paper, Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? Bostrom didn't just ask the question, he framed it as a logical argument, a trilemma, suggesting that at least one of the three propositions must be true. Proposition 1, the no post-human scenario. We, or any other intelligent species, will almost certainly go extinct before reaching a post-human stage where we have the technological capability to create highly realistic ancestor simulations. This could be due to self-destruction, natural catastrophe, or simply not developing far enough. A bit of a downer, really. Imagine all that tech and we still manage to trip over our own shoelaces. Proposition 2, the indifferent post-human scenario. Any post-human civilization that does reach that level of technological prowess will almost certainly not be interested in running a significant number of ancestor simulations. Maybe they'll find it unethical, too resource intensive, or they've simply moved on to cooler things, like creating pocket universes or mastering interdimensional tax evasion. Proposition 3, the weird kind of virtual scenario. If the first two propositions are false, then we are almost certainly living in a computer simulation. If advanced civilizations can create these simulations, and do want to, statistical probability dictates that there would be far more simulated beings than base reality beings. If there's one base reality and billions of simulations, then the odds of you being in the base reality are astronomically low. It's like being one grain of sand on a simulated beach where there are countless simulated beaches. Pretty slim chances. Bostrom's argument isn't about proving that we're in a simulation. It's about suggesting logically that one of these three outcomes must be overwhelmingly likely. And for many, the third proposition feels disturbingly plausible. The simulation theory has truly exploded in popularity in recent years, migrating from philosophical debates to mainstream conversations. But why now? Well, as we've just discussed, our immersion in virtual worlds has never been greater. Kids today grow up interacting with sophisticated digital environments from a young age. The line between what's real and what's rendered becomes fuzzier with every generation. And of course, pop culture absolutely devours these ideas. The most famous example, without a doubt, is the Matrix film series. It practically became the visual dictionary for simulation theory, with its iconic red pill or blue pill choice. But it extends further. Inception played with layered realities. Westworld explored consciousness within a simulated environment. And even more light-hearted films like Free Guy delved into the lives of NPCs in a game world. It's not just fiction either. High-profile figures have openly discussed the possibility. Tech mogul Elon Musk famously stated, "The odds that we are living in a base reality is 1 in billions." Astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson has said the probability may be very high. When people like that start talking about it, it moves from fringe theory to a dinner party conversation starter, or in my case, a YouTube script. So, what are the actual theories or argument that lend credence to the idea that we might be living in a simulation? And are there any bugs in our reality that hint at its actual artificial nature? One of the most frequently cited points is the fine-tuning of the universe. Our universe seems perfectly calibrated for life to exist. If fundamental physical constraints, like the strength of gravity, the mass of an electron, or the speed of light, were even slightly different, the universe as we know it, with stars, planets, and life, simply wouldn't exist. It's like finding a complex computer program where every single parameter is just right for it to run perfectly. Is it a cosmic coincidence or a carefully entered design parameter? Then there's the weirdness of quantum mechanics. At the quantum level, particles don't have defined states until they're observed. They exist as probabilities, wave functions, until a measurement collapses them into a specific state. Some theorists suggest this is a form of rendering on demand. The universe only bothers to fully process and render what is being actively observed or interacted with to save on computational power. Why render the intricate details of a distant galaxy's third moon if no one is looking at it? Efficiency, my friends. Or maybe it's just the universe's way of telling us to mind our own business. Another point is the mathematical nature of the universe. From the orbits of planets to the structure of DNA, everything in the cosmos can be described by elegant mathematical equations. Physicist Max Tegmark even proposed that our universe isn't described by mathematics, but is mathematics. And what is a computer program at its core? Mathematics and logic. And then, of course, there are the more anecdotal, slightly more comedic glitches in the matrix. Have you ever experienced a sudden, inexplicable deja vu that lasted a little too long? Or perhaps you've seen two identical strangers walk past each other, moments apart, with exactly the same outfit. What about that time you lost your keys, searched everywhere, only for them to magically reappear in plain sight where you already looked? These are the moments to make us pause and wonder if the simulation just had to momentarily reset a variable, or if the NPCs needed to respawn. But let's be fair, not everyone is convinced. There are strong arguments against the simulation hypothesis too. One major hurdle is computational limits. Even with incredibly advanced technology, simulating an entire universe down to the quantum level, with every atom, every interaction, every thought, would require an unimaginable amount of processing power and storage. Critics argue it's simply beyond the realm of possibility, even for post-human civilizations. Or maybe they just bought the biggest graphics card they could find on the interdimensional market. Then there's the question of consciousness. Can subjective experience, true awareness, and free will actually be simulated? Even if you perfectly replicate every neural connection in a brain, does it create a conscious entity, or just something that behaves like one? This delves into the hard problem of consciousness, and it's a profound philosophical challenge for the simulation theory. Another critical point is that the simulation hypothesis is largely unfalsifiable. How could you definitively prove or disprove it? Any glitch could be explained away as a natural phenomenon, and any lack of evidence could be attributed to the simulation being too perfect. It's a bit like trying to prove gravity exists by jumping off a cliff, only for the simulation to patch the fall. Finally, there's the simple question of why bother? What would be the motivation for these advanced simulators to create us? While Bostrom offers some possibilities, ancestral studies, experimental environments, it's all really just speculation. And if they really are so advanced, wouldn't they have better things to do? Like trying to finally figure out how to perfectly toast bread without burning it. Seriously, that's a universal problem. So, are we inside a simulation? The short answer is we don't know, and we may never know. But the very act of asking the question, of exploring the simulation theory, is incredibly valuable. It forces us to examine our assumptions about reality, about consciousness, about the nature of existence itself. It makes us consider our place in the cosmos, whether we are flesh and blood or simply lines of code. It encourages us to think about scientific inquiry, philosophical thought, and the very astounding potential of future technologies. It's a thought experiment that shakes the very foundations of what we perceive as real, prompting us to truly appreciate the intricate, bizarre, and beautiful world we inhabit, whether it's rendered by a divine design or by an alien supercomputer. And hey, if it is a simulation, maybe try to live your best simulated life. Optimize your stats, complete your quests, and definitely don't rage quit too often. You never know who's watching. Thanks for joining us on this mind-bending journey. If you found yourself questioning everything after this, hit that like button. If you want more deep dives into the inexplicable and profound, make sure to subscribe. And tell us in the comments below, do you think we're living in a simulation? What's your favorite glitch in the Matrix? We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, keep questioning, keep pondering, and keep wondering what is real. See you next time.